Commander Viktor Petrov pressed his face against the observation port of the mining vessel's Siberian Wind and watched the asteroid tumble slowly against the star field. After 18 months of deep space mining operations, he had seen thousands of rocks just like this one, but something about asteroid designation XK-47 made his experienced eye linger. "Dmitri, bring us closer to that one," he called to his pilot, pointing at the dark mass roughly 3 kilometers long and shaped like a twisted metal cigar. Dmitri Volkov, barely 25 but already one of the best asteroid belt pilots in the Russian space program, adjusted their trajectory with practiced ease. "It's not on our survey list, Commander. Looks like dead rock to me." The third member of their crew, Dr. Elena Kozlov, looked up from her geological scanner. At 38, she was the oldest member of their team and had spent most of her career studying asteroid composition for the mining consortium. Actually, the density readings are unusual. "This thing is far too heavy for its size, and I'm getting some strange electromagnetic signatures." Victor had been mining asteroids for 15 years, ever since the Great Expansion began when humanity finally developed reliable fusion drives. The work was dangerous, lonely, and often unrewarding, but it paid well enough to support his family back on Mars colony. More importantly, it kept him far away from Earth's politics and the constant reminder that humanity was still crawling between the stars, while other species had been traveling faster than light for thousands of years. The Siberian Wind was a typical Russian deep space mining vessel, built like a tank, designed to survive anything the asteroid belt could throw at it, and equipped with enough life support to keep 3 people alive for 2 years. Victor's crew had been out here for 18 months, filling their cargo holds with rare metals and ice, but they still had 6 months left on their contract. "There's definitely something artificial about this rock," Elena said, her scanner beeping rapidly. "The core is showing massive density variations, and I'm reading what looks like internal structure." Dmitri brought them into a stable orbit around the asteroid. Up close, Victor could see that what he had taken for natural rock formations were actually geometric patterns, as if something had tried to disguise an artificial structure as a natural asteroid. "Elena, are you seeing this?" Victor asked, pointing at a section where the rocky exterior had been worn away by millennia of micrometeor impacts, revealing what looked like metal underneath. "My God," Elena whispered, her scanner forgotten. "Victor, this isn't an asteroid at all. This is a ship." The implications hit all 3 of them at once. In all of humanity's expansion into space, they had never found evidence of alien technology. The galaxy was full of intelligent species. The Galactic Council included over 200 member races, but none of their artifacts had ever been discovered in human space. The closest humanity had come to alien contact was through long-range communications with council representatives, who made it clear that humans were considered a primitive species not yet ready for membership. "Are you certain?" Victor asked, though his eyes were already telling him the answer. Now that he knew what to look for, the artificial nature of the object was obvious. The rocky exterior was clearly some kind of camouflage or natural accumulation over time. "The metal underneath is unlike anything in our databases," Elena reported, her scientific excitement overriding her shock. "It's not showing any oxidation or meteor damage despite obvious age." "Whatever this alloy is, it's incredibly advanced." Dmitri was already calculating approach vectors. "If this is what I think it is, we need to be very careful. Unknown alien technology could be dangerous." Victor made the decision that would change not just their lives, but the course of human history. "We're going to dock with it." "Elena, I want full scans of everything. Dmitri, find us a way inside." "If this really is alien technology, the research value alone will set up our families for life." The process of finding an entry point took 3 hours. The ship, for it was definitely a ship, was over 2 kilometers long and designed unlike anything humans had ever built. Where human vessels were cylindrical or blocky, this one flowed like living metal, all curves and organic-seeming protrusions. The rocky camouflage covered most of its surface, but in several places the true hull showed through. "There," Elena pointed to a section where the camouflage was thinnest. "I'm reading a possible airlock mechanism about 50 meters from our current position." As they approached the potential entry point, Victor felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold of space. The ship radiated an aura of age and death that seemed to seep through the hull of their own vessel. Whatever had happened here, it had happened a very long time ago. "Commander," Dimitri's voice was tight with tension, "I'm reading residual radiation signatures. Nothing dangerous to us, but this thing has definitely seen some kind of energy weapon fire. Look at those scorch marks along the hull." Victor examined the areas Dmitri indicated. Sure enough, there were vast sections where the metal was blackened and twisted, evidence of some ancient battle. Whatever had destroyed this ship's crew, it had been violent. "The airlock is responding to our docking clamps," Elena reported with surprise. "Either it's designed to interface with any technology, or it's specifically compatible with our systems." "That's impossible," Dmitri muttered. "Our docking systems are based on human engineering principles. There's no way an alien ship would run off by a soft chime from their control panel." The alien airlock was cycling, automatically matching pressure and atmosphere to their ship. "It's scanning us," Elena said, her voice filled with wonder. "The ship is still partially active, and it's adapting its systems to accommodate human physiology." Victor felt a mixture of excitement and dread. Advanced alien technology that was still functional after what was obviously a very long time could be incredibly dangerous. But it could also represent the greatest discovery in human history. "Elena, you're with me. Full environmental suits, and bring every scanner we have. Dmitri, you stay with the ship and monitor our status. If anything goes wrong, you undock immediately and get word back to Earth." "Commander, respectfully, I should be the one going in first. If there's danger, I'm the senior officer, and this is my decision. Besides, Elena's expertise might be crucial in understanding what we find." 20 minutes later, Victor and Elena stood at the threshold of the alien airlock, their suit lights cutting through the darkness beyond. The airlock itself was a marvel of engineering, constructed from the same impossible metal as the rest of the ship and covered in what appeared to be some kind of script or symbols. "Atmosphere is breathable," Elena reported, checking her readings. "Oxygen-nitrogen mix, slightly higher pressure than Earth normal, but within acceptable parameters." "Keep your suits on anyway," Victor ordered. "We don't know what other dangers might be present." They stepped through the airlock into a corridor that defied human understanding of ship design. The walls curved organically, covered in what looked like writing or circuitry that pulsed with faint bioluminescence. The gravity was slightly lighter than Earth normal, but felt natural, as if the ship's systems were still maintaining life support. "Victor, look at this," Elena whispered, running her gloved hand along the wall. "The writing is changing, adapting. It's like the ship is trying to communicate with us." As she spoke, the alien symbols shifted and flowed, gradually resolving into something resembling human script. Not English or Russian, but something that human eyes could at least process as potentially meaningful. The ship's AI is still functional, Victor realized. It's learning from our neural patterns, trying to establish communication. They moved deeper into the ship, their lights revealing chamber after chamber of impossible technology. Everything was organic curves and flowing metal, as if the entire vessel had been grown rather than built. In some rooms they found what might have been control stations, covered in the same adaptive writing. In others they discovered equipment whose purpose they couldn't even guess at. "Commander, you need to see this," Elena called from ahead. She was standing at the entrance to what was obviously the ship's bridge or command center. Victor joined her and immediately understood her shock. The bridge was vast, easily 100 meters across, with walls that curved up and away into darkness. At the center lay what could only be the ship's captain. The alien was roughly humanoid, but taller and more slender than any human. Its skin had a metallic sheen, and its elongated skull suggested a brain capacity far beyond human normal. It wore what might have been armor, or might have been its natural exterior. It was impossible to tell where the being ended and its equipment began. More shocking was the fact that it was perfectly preserved. Despite the obvious age of the ship, the alien captain looked as if it had died yesterday. "Stasis field," Elena breathed. The body is suspended in some kind of preservation matrix. Around the captain's chair, holographic displays flickered with alien text and what might have been star charts. As Victor approached, the displays shifted, the alien writing flowing and changing until it resolved into something approaching human script. "Welcome, young ones," the display read in halting but comprehensible English. "I am Captain Thex High of the predecessor fleet. If you are reading this, my people are dead, and you have found our tomb." Victor felt his blood run cold. The predecessors were legend among the galaxy's elder races, an ancient civilization that supposedly ruled the galaxy millions of years ago before vanishing completely. If this was really a predecessor ship, they had just discovered technology beyond anything the current galactic civilization possessed. "We died fighting the Devourers," the message continued. "Our greatest weapon lies dormant in the ship's core. It is dangerous beyond measure, but may be your only hope when they return. The weapon breaks the fundamental laws of your physics. It harmonizes matter and antimatter in impossible equilibrium. My ship is called the Void Dragon, and its weapon has never been defeated." Elena grabbed Victor's arm. "Commander, if this is true, if this ship really contains some kind of antimatter weapon, We're sitting on top of the most dangerous and powerful device in the galaxy. Victor stared at the preserved alien captain, his mind racing. Humanity had always been considered a minor species by the galactic community, barely worth acknowledging. They had no faster-than-light travel, no energy weapons beyond simple lasers, and no political power among the stars. But if they could understand and control this technology, Elena, how long would it take to do a complete scan of this vessel? With our equipment? Weeks, maybe months. This technology is so far beyond our understanding that we're essentially cavemen trying to comprehend a nuclear reactor. Then we'd better get started. Dmitri, he called over their comm system, I need you to send a message back to Earth. Tell them we've found something extraordinary, but don't give details. Request an immediate research team in complete secrecy. What are you planning, Victor? Elena asked. Victor looked around the alien bridge at technology that could revolutionize human civilization or destroy it completely. The message from the dead captain mentioned the return of something called the Devourers, suggesting that this ancient war might not be as finished as everyone believed. I'm planning to give humanity the tools it needs to survive. The galaxy sees us as primitives, but maybe that's about to change. As if responding to his words, the ship's systems hummed to life around them. Lights flickered on throughout the bridge, and the holographic displays brightened. The Void Dragon was waking up, and Victor had the distinct feeling that their discovery was about to attract attention from across the galaxy. What he didn't know was that their communications back to Earth had already been intercepted by Galactic Council monitoring stations, and that several of the galaxy's most powerful species were already dispatching fleets toward the asteroid belt. The discovery of a predecessor vessel would bring every major power in the galaxy racing to claim it, and humanity was about to find itself at the center of a conflict that would determine the fate of the entire galaxy. The abandoned dragon was silent no more. 3 weeks after Victor's team discovered the Void Dragon, the first human research vessel arrived in the asteroid belt. The Moscow Scientific was the largest deep space laboratory ship in Earth's fleet, carrying a crew of 47 scientists, engineers, and military personnel. Dr. Sarah Chen, the mission's lead xenoarchaeologist, felt her pulse quicken as their ship approached the coordinates Victor had transmitted. What she saw defied every expectation she had formed during the journey from Earth. The asteroid that had hidden the Predator ship was gone, dissolved away by some process the alien vessel had initiated. In its place floated the Void Dragon in all its terrible glory, 2 kilometers of impossible architecture that seemed to bend space around it. The ship's hull rippled with energy patterns that hurt to look at directly, and scanner readings made no sense whatsoever. "My God," whispered Commander Hayes, the military officer assigned to oversee the mission. "The power readings from that thing are off the charts. What have they gotten themselves into?" Dr. Chen was studying the energy signatures with growing concern. "These readings don't match anything in our physics textbooks. The ship is generating power using principles we don't understand, and the energy output is equivalent to a small star." Victor's mining vessel looked like a toy beside the alien ship, docked at what appeared to be a purpose-built docking bay that definitely hadn't been there in the initial reports. The Void Dragon was modifying itself, growing new structures as needed. Siberian Wind. This is the Moscow Scientific. "Victor, please respond," Commander Hayes transmitted. Victor's voice crackled back over the comm, but there was something different about it, a confidence and authority that hadn't been there in his earlier transmissions. "Welcome to the Void Dragon, Moscow Scientific. Prepare to have everything you thought you knew about physics challenged." "Victor, what's your status?" "Our sensors are showing massive energy output from that vessel." "We're fine, more than fine, actually. The ship's AI has been teaching us about predecessor technology, and we've made some remarkable discoveries. The ship is safe, but I need to warn you about something. We're not alone out here anymore." Dr. Chen felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean, not alone?" 3 days ago, our long-range sensors picked up incoming ships, multiple fleets, moving fast. The Galactic Council races have detected our communications with Earth, and they're coming to claim the Void Dragon. We estimate the first vessels will arrive within 48 hours. Commander Hayes was already calculating tactical scenarios in his head, all of them ending badly for humanity. "How many ships are we talking about?" 17 confirmed fleets from at least 6 different species. The Zephyrians are sending their entire 3rd battle group. The crystalline hegemony is mobilizing their warforms. Even the ethereal collective is dispatching vessels, and they haven't left their home system in over a century. Dr. Chen studied the tactical display Hayes was bringing up on the main screen. The approaching alien forces represented more firepower than the entire human space fleet could muster. If they wanted the Void Dragon, there was nothing humanity could do to stop them. Victor, we need to evacuate immediately. There's no way we can hold that ship against those forces. That's where you're wrong, Sarah. Victor's voice carried a strange confidence. The Void Dragon isn't defenseless. Captain Thek's AI's final message mentioned the ship's primary weapon, something called an anti-atom cannon. The ship's AI has been explaining how it works. Anti-atom? Dr. Chen felt her scientific training rebel against the very concept. That's impossible. Antimatter can't exist in stable form outside of magnetic containment, and certainly not as a weapon system. The predecessors apparently never read our physics textbooks.
Elena, tell them what you've learned.
Elena Kozlov's voice joined the transmission, but like Victor, she sounded different, excited in a way that bordered on manic. Sarah, everything we thought we knew about matter-antimatter interaction is wrong. The predecessors developed a technology that creates what they call locked antimatter, antimatter that exists in perfect balance with regular matter, creating a stable but incredibly energetic state. That violates the fundamental laws of physics, Doctor, Chen protested. No, it transcends them. The anti-atom cannon doesn't destroy matter by annihilation. It converts the target's own atomic structure into locked antimatter, turning the enemy's mass against itself. The more massive the target, the more powerful the reaction. Commander Hayes was studying the technical readouts Victor's team had transmitted. You're saying this weapon turns enemy ships into bombs using their own mass? Not just ships, Dimitri's voice added to the conversation. According to the ship's AI, the cannon has a maximum range of 3 light-years and can target anything up to the size of a small moon. The predecessors used it to destroy entire enemy fleets with single shots.
Dr. Chen felt the blood drain from her face.
My God. No wonder the Galactic Council races are mobilizing. If word gets out that humanity has access to predecessor weapons, it gets worse, Victor said grimly. The ship's AI has been analyzing galactic political structures through our computer systems. It believes the species coming to claim the Void Dragon aren't just interested in the technology. They're afraid of it. Predecessor weapons were used in the war against something called the Devourers, and according to the AI, that war isn't over. What do you mean? Hayes asked. The Devourers are still out there, somewhere beyond the galactic rim, and they're planning to return. Every major species in the galaxy knows this, but they've been hiding it from younger races like humanity. They don't want to cause panic. Chen was processing the implications. So the established powers are coming to claim predecessor technology not just for its power, but because they need it to defend against something even worse. Exactly. And they can't afford to let a primitive species like humanity control a weapon this powerful. The Void Dragon could shift the entire balance of power in the galaxy. Commander Hayes was studying his tactical displays with growing concern. Victor, even if this weapon is as powerful as you say, we can't fight 17 fleets. And we certainly can't risk starting a war with the Galactic Council. We're not going to fight them, Victor said, and Dr. Chen could hear the smile in his voice. We're going to negotiate from a position of strength. The ship's AI has been teaching us about more than just weapons. Elena, show them what else we've discovered. Elena's excitement was palpable as she transmitted new data. The Void Dragon isn't just a warship. It's a mobile research station containing the entire scientific knowledge of the predecessor civilization. Faster-than-light technology, energy manipulation, gravity control, bioengineering techniques that could extend human life by centuries. It's all here. Dr. Chen's scientist's brain was reeling from the possibilities. You're talking about technology that could advance human civilization by thousands of years overnight. And that's exactly what we're going to do, Victor said firmly. But first, we need to convince the incoming fleets that humanity deserves a place at the galactic table. The Void Dragon has chosen us as its inheritors, and we're not giving it up without a fight. Over the next 36 hours, the Moscow Scientific docked with the alien vessel, and Dr. Chen found herself walking through corridors that challenged everything she thought she knew about technology and physics. The ship was more than just a vessel. It was a living entity, growing and adapting to its new human crew. The ship's AI, which had taken the name Thex in honor of its former captain, communicated through holographic displays that appeared wherever they were needed. It had been analyzing human culture and psychology through the ship's computer interfaces, learning about their history, their conflicts, and their potential. Your species is young, Thex explained to Dr. Chen as she studied the anti-atom cannon's control systems, but you show remarkable adaptability. The predecessors were ancient and wise, but they had become rigid in their thinking. Perhaps fresh perspectives are exactly what this technology needs. The cannon itself was beautiful in a terrifying way, a crystalline chamber the size of a building, filled with swirling patterns of light and energy that seemed to exist in more dimensions than human senses could perceive. The control systems were intuitive once the ship's AI explained them, designed to be operated by thought and intention rather than physical manipulation. The weapon requires a living consciousness to operate effectively, Thex explained. It reads the operator's intentions and translates them into targeting parameters. This prevents accidental discharge, but also means that only someone with the proper mental discipline can use it safely. Elena had been working with the ship's engineers, humans whose understanding of physics had been completely revolutionized in just 3 weeks. "We've managed to activate secondary systems," she reported to Dr. Chen. "The ship's defensive screens are online, and we've figured out how to operate the gravity manipulation systems. If those fleets want to take the ship by force, they're going to be surprised." Commander Hayes was less optimistic. "Our long-range sensors are showing the first alien vessels dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, 3 Zephyrian battleships and a crystalline war form. They're not here for negotiations." Dr. Chen could feel the tension building among the human crew. They were about to face technology and firepower that vastly exceeded anything humanity had ever encountered. But as she studied the Void Dragon's capabilities, she began to understand Victor's confidence. "Thex, if we're forced to defend ourselves, what are our chances?" The AI's response was immediate and unsettling. "Against the approaching forces, complete victory is assured. The anti-atom cannon can destroy their entire fleet before they achieve effective weapons range. However, such action would likely trigger a war with the Galactic Council that humanity is not prepared to fight." "Then we'd better hope Victor's negotiation strategy works," Hayes muttered. As the first alien ships entered the asteroid belt, the Void Dragon came fully alive. Energy coursed through its hull. Gravity fields strengthened around the ship, and weapon systems that had been dormant for eons began their activation sequences. The ship was preparing for battle, but it was also preparing to reveal capabilities that would shock every species in the galaxy. The lead Zephyrian battleship transmitted a message in perfect English. "Human vessels, you are trespassing on a site of galactic importance. Surrender the predecessor artifact immediately, and no harm will come to you." Victor's response was calm and measured. "This is Commander Viktor Petrov of the human vessel Void Dragon. We claim salvage rights over this ship according to galactic maritime law. If you wish to dispute our claim, we are prepared to defend our position." There was a long pause before the Zephyrian commander responded, clearly shocked that a human was claiming command of a predecessor vessel. "Human, you do not understand what you have found. That ship contains technology too dangerous for your species to possess." "Then perhaps you'd like to discuss the matter in person," Victor replied. "The Void Dragon's docking bays can accommodate your vessels." "We have much to discuss regarding the return of the Devourers and humanity's role in galactic defense." The silence that followed Victor's mention of the Devourers told Dr. Chen everything she needed to know. The alien commander hadn't expected humans to know about the ancient threat, and that knowledge had just shifted the entire dynamic of the encounter. When the Zephyrian commander finally responded, his tone had changed completely. "How do you know of the Devourers?" "The ship's AI has been quite informative," Victor replied. "Why don't you come aboard and we can discuss how humanity might contribute to galactic defense? I think you'll find that the Void Dragon has chosen its new crew for very specific reasons." As the first alien shuttle approached the predecessor ship, Dr. Chen realized that Victor was right. This wasn't just about salvage rights or even advanced technology. Humanity was about to take its first steps onto the galactic stage, armed with weapons that could reshape the balance of power among the stars. The question was whether they were ready for the responsibilities that came with such power, and whether the galaxy was ready for humanity to claim its place among the major powers. The answer would determine the fate of countless worlds. Admiral Zekthara of the Zephyrian fleet had commanded warships for over 3 centuries, but as his shuttle approached the impossible curves of the predecessor vessel, he felt something he hadn't experienced in decades: genuine uncertainty. The Void Dragon radiated power that made his battleships seem like children's toys, and the fact that humans were apparently controlling it defied everything the Galactic Council knew about technological progression. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, "the ship's energy output has increased by 40% since we began our approach. It's actively scanning our vessels with sensor beams that are penetrating our strongest shields." Zekthara studied the readings with growing concern. His ship's computers couldn't even classify the technology they were encountering. "What's our weapons status?" "All systems ready, but, Admiral..." Our targeting computers can't get a lock on the predecessor ship. It's like it exists in several dimensions simultaneously, and our weapons are designed for three-dimensional targets. As their shuttle entered the Void Dragon's docking bay, Zekthara was amazed by what he saw. The bay itself was reshaping to accommodate his vessel, walls flowing like liquid metal to create perfect docking seals. More shocking was the sight of human technicians working alongside holographic displays that showed complex engineering schematics. "They're actually learning to operate predecessor technology," his aide whispered in disbelief. "In just 3 weeks, they've achieved integration that should take centuries." Commander Viktor Petrov was waiting for them in what appeared to be a reception chamber that definitely hadn't existed in any predecessor ship design Zekthara knew. The human looked confident and relaxed, showing none of the deference that other younger species typically displayed towards Zephyrian authority. "Admiral Zekthara," Victor said with a slight bow. "Welcome aboard the Void Dragon. I'm afraid the ship's AI has been quite curious about your fleet movements. It finds your tactical formations interesting." Zekthara studied the human commander carefully. Victor appeared to be in his 40s by human standards, physically unremarkable except for an intensity in his eyes that suggested he had seen things that had changed him fundamentally. "Commander Petrov, I must admit that your claims of salvage rights are unprecedented. In the 3,000 years since the Galactic Council was established, no species has ever successfully claimed a predecessor artifact. Perhaps no species has ever tried hard enough," Victor replied with a slight smile. "Would you like to meet the ship's AI? It has some fascinating insights about galactic politics and military strategy." Before Zekthara could respond, a holographic figure materialized beside them, a representation of the ship's former captain, but clearly modified to seem less alien to human perceptions. When it spoke, its voice carried harmonics that seemed to bypass the ears and speak directly to the mind. "Admiral Zekthara of the Zephyrian Fleet," the AI said. "I am Thex, current guardian of the Void Dragon. Your species' military records are impressive, but your understanding of the Devourer threat is incomplete." Zekthara felt his combat instincts trigger at the casual way the AI accessed classified information. "What do you know of our defensive preparations?" "I know that 17 different species are currently mobilizing fleets to claim this ship," Thex replied, "and I know that all of them are afraid. The Devourers are stirring again beyond the galactic rim, and your current weapons technology is inadequate to stop them." "That's classified council information," Zekthara said sharply. "Classification is irrelevant when facing extinction," Victor interjected. "The ship's AI has been analyzing the galactic situation, and it believes humanity can provide something the established powers cannot: fresh thinking unconstrained by centuries of failure." Zekthara was about to respond when his communication implant activated with an emergency signal. "Admiral, this is Captain Veltar aboard the Wind of Justice. We have multiple hyperspace signatures incoming. The Crystalline Hegemony fleet has arrived, and they're deploying an attack formation." Through the chamber's transparent walls, Zekthara could see the crystalline ships materializing in space, living vessels grown rather than built, their faceted hulls refracting starlight into rainbow patterns. The Hegemony and the Zephyrian Union had been rivals for centuries, and their simultaneous presence here could easily trigger a conflict. "This is exactly what we hope to avoid," Zekthara muttered. "Commander Petrov, I strongly suggest you transfer command of this vessel to Joint Council Authority before this situation escalates beyond control." Victor's expression didn't change. "I'm afraid that's not possible, Admiral. The Void Dragon has accepted humanity as its new crew, and we take our responsibilities seriously." "Your responsibilities?" Zekthara couldn't keep the disbelief out of his voice. "You're talking about weapons that could destroy star systems. Your species barely has faster-than-light communication." "Which is exactly why we're the right choice," Dr. Elena Kozlov said as she entered the chamber. "We don't have centuries of preconceived notions about what's possible or impossible. When the ship's AI explained how the anti-atom cannon works, we didn't spend months debating whether it violated known physics, we just learned how to use it." As if summoned by her words, more holographic displays activated around the chamber showing technical readouts that made Zekthara's scientific training rebel. The humans had indeed learned to operate technology that the galaxy's brightest minds had declared impossible. "Admiral," Thex said, "perhaps a demonstration would help clarify the situation. There is a dead asteroid approximately 1 million kilometers from our current position. Would you like to see what the anti-atom cannon can do?" Zekthara's tactical experience screamed warnings. "Commander Petrov, I strongly advise against any weapons demonstration. The crystalline ships will interpret it as a hostile act." Victor was consulting with someone through his communication system. The Crystalline commander is requesting immediate surrender of the ship to Hegemony Control. I think they need to understand our position. Victor, no, Elena said urgently. If we fire the cannon, every species in the galaxy will consider us a threat. They already do, Victor replied calmly. The question is whether they see us as a threat they can eliminate or one they need to respect. Thex's hologram gestured, and the chamber's walls became transparent, providing a perfect view of the space around them. The dead asteroid was visible as a small speck against the stars. The anti-atom cannon requires no charging time and produces no detectable energy buildup, Thex explained to Admiral Zekthara. Your sensors will not detect activation until the moment of firing. Before Zekthara could protest, the asteroid simply ceased to exist. There was no explosion, no flash of light, no visible beam or projectile. One moment the rock was there, the next moment there was only empty space and a slowly expanding cloud of exotic particles that his ship's sensors couldn't identify. What? How? Zekthara stammered, his military composure finally cracking. The cannon converted the asteroid's atomic structure to locked antimatter, Elena explained with scientific enthusiasm. The entire mass underwent controlled annihilation, releasing energy equivalent to a stellar explosion but contained within the target's original boundaries. Zekthara's communication implant was buzzing with frantic reports from his fleet. His ship's sensors had detected the energy release but couldn't determine its source or nature. More importantly, the Crystalline fleet had detected it too and was now requesting immediate withdrawal. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, the hegemony ships are powering down weapons and moving to a defensive posture. They're asking for immediate communication with their council representatives. Victor smiled grimly. I think the galaxy just learned to take humanity seriously. Over the next hour, as more alien fleets arrived in the asteroid belt, Zekthara found himself in the surreal position of mediating between human salvagers and some of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. The ethereal collective materialized their energy ships in impossible geometric patterns. The Silicon Prophets arrived in vessels that were essentially flying computers. Even the reclusive Void Walkers sent representatives, appearing in ships that existed partially outside normal space-time. Each species had the same goal: claim the predecessor ship and its impossible weapons. Each received the same demonstration when they demanded surrender of human claims. By the end of the day, a dozen asteroids had been converted to exotic particles, and every major power in the galaxy was frantically recalculating their strategic assumptions. This changes everything, Zekthara admitted to Victor as they stood in the Void Dragon's observation deck, watching alien fleets maintain careful distances from each other and the human-controlled ship. With weapons like this, humanity could dominate the galaxy. That's not what we want, Victor replied. According to Thex, the Devourers are planning their return. When that happens, we're going to need every species in the galaxy working together. Domination won't save us from extinction. Dr. Chen, who had been analyzing the ship's historical databases, joined their conversation. The predecessor records show that the Devourers aren't just another hostile species. They're something else entirely. Entities that consume not just matter and energy, but the fundamental structure of space-time itself. Which is why the anti-atom cannon was developed, Thex added, its hologram materializing beside them. Traditional energy weapons and kinetic projectiles cannot harm creatures that exist partially outside normal physics. Only locked antimatter can disrupt their exotic matter structures. Zekthara felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's temperature. How long do we have before they return? The ship's long-range sensors are detecting gravitational anomalies at the galactic rim, Thex replied. Something massive is disturbing space-time in ways consistent with Devourer movement. I estimate 18 months before the first scouts reach inhabited systems. Victor turned to face the Zephyrian Admiral directly. Admiral, I'm prepared to make you an offer. Humanity will share the Void Dragon's technology with the Galactic Council, but we want full membership status and joint command of the defense effort. Your species has no experience with galactic politics or interstellar warfare, Zekthara protested. No, but we have experience with survival against impossible odds, Elena interjected. And we have the fresh perspective that predecessor technology apparently requires. The ship chose us for a reason. As if to emphasize her point, the Void Dragon activated its communication systems, transmitting on frequencies that reached every ship in the asteroid belt. Thex's voice carried across space with authority that made every alien commander listen. To all gathered fleets, the Devourers return, and this time they bring the tools to unmake reality itself. The old ways of thinking, the old technologies, the old politics, all are inadequate for what approaches. Humanity has been chosen not because of their power, but because of their potential. The question you must answer is whether you will embrace change or cling to traditions that will lead to extinction. The silence that followed was broken by a communication from the lead crystalline ship. The Hegemony's crystal being commander spoke in harmonics that conveyed concepts beyond simple words. We acknowledge human salvage rights and request formal negotiations regarding defense coordination. The Silicon Prophets calculated that cooperation offered the highest probability of survival. The ethereal collective's energy beings recognized the logic of unity against a common threat. Even the proud Zephyrian Union agreed to consider humanity's proposal. Admiral Zekthara realized he was witnessing a fundamental shift in galactic politics. In less than a month, humanity had gone from a minor species barely worth acknowledging to a major power, whose decisions could affect the fate of the entire galaxy. Commander Petrov, he said formally, the Zephyrian Union is prepared to escort you to the Galactic Council headquarters for formal negotiations. But I must warn you, there are some council members who will never accept humanity as equals, regardless of the weapons you control. Victor's smile was grim but determined. Then I suppose they'll learn the same lesson as everyone else. Humanity doesn't ask for permission anymore. As the various fleets began forming a protective convoy around the Void Dragon, preparing for the journey to the galactic capital, Dr. Chen made one final discovery in the ship's databases that changed everything they thought they knew about the approaching threat. The Devourers weren't returning. They had never left. The Galactic Council chambers on Centauri Prime had witnessed many historic moments in the 3 millennia since its construction, but nothing quite like this. Representatives from 237 different species filled the vast amphitheater, their attention focused on the humans who stood at the center of the great debate floor. Commander Victor Petrov and Dr. Sarah Chen looked impossibly small in the massive space, but their presence commanded absolute attention. High Chancellor Mordak of the Ancient Assembly called the emergency session to order with a gesture that sent harmonics through the chamber's acoustic systems. The Zeridian leader had overseen council business for over 8 centuries and had never seen the political order challenged so fundamentally. We are gathered, Mordak announced in the universal language that resonated in every species' communication range, to address the unprecedented situation created by humanity's claim to predecessor technology. Commander Petrov, you may present your case. Victor stepped forward, his confidence unwavering despite facing the combined authority of galactic civilization. Behind him, holographic displays showed the Void Dragon in orbit around Centauri Prime, its presence causing constant fluctuations in the planet's monitoring systems. Honorable Chancellor, distinguished representatives, Victor began, humanity comes before this council not as petitioners, but as equals who have inherited a sacred trust. The Void Dragon has chosen us as its new guardians, and with that honor comes the responsibility to defend the galaxy against the returning Devourer threat. Angry vocalizations erupted from several sections of the chamber. The hegemonic overlord of the Silicon Prophets, a massive AI consciousness housed in a crystalline matrix, projected its objections directly into the translation systems. Human arrogance exceeds their capabilities. Predecessor technology requires computational complexity beyond organic neural limits. With respect, Overlord, Dr. Chen interjected, activating her own holographic display. Our integration with the ship's AI has proven otherwise. May I present evidence of our technological adaptation? The displays showed human engineers working seamlessly with predecessor systems, their minds apparently enhanced by neural interfaces that allowed direct communication with the ship's consciousness. More shocking were the readings showing humans successfully operating equipment that had baffled galactic scientists for millennia. Ambassador Valtari of the Ethereal Collective materialized her energy form in the speaker's area, her thoughts resonating as pure concept rather than words. The young species demonstrates compatibility that defies conventional understanding. Perhaps their neural plasticity provides advantages that evolved minds cannot achieve. Exactly, Victor agreed. Humanity's supposed primitive status is actually our strength. We don't have millennia of established doctrine telling us what's impossible. Chancellor Mordak's ancient features showed concern as he gestured for order. Commander Petrov, even if we accept your species' unusual compatibility with predecessor technology, the political implications of your demands are staggering. Full council membership would place humanity among the galaxy's ruling powers based on a single archaeological discovery. Not archaeological, Doctor. Chen corrected, her voice carrying new authority. Active discovery. The Void Dragon's AI has been analyzing Devourer activity, and I'm afraid we have disturbing news about the scope of the threat. The chamber fell silent as Chen activated a stellar map showing the galaxy's spiral arms. Red markers appeared across vast sections of space, indicating detected anomalies. The Devourers didn't retreat beyond the galactic rim after their last war with the predecessors. They went dormant, seeding sleeper agents throughout inhabited space. Our analysis suggests they've been slowly corrupting star systems for millions of years, preparing for a coordinated awakening. The implications sent shockwaves through the assembled representatives. Admiral Zekthara, now serving as humanity's unofficial military liaison, stepped forward to address the chamber. The Zephyrian Union can confirm unusual gravitational anomalies in 17 systems within our territory, he reported grimly. We attributed them to natural phenomena, but the human analysis suggests they're artificial constructs designed to weaken the barriers between dimensions. Representative Clixera of the Voidwalkers spoke from the shadows where her species preferred to remain. Our people have detected similar disturbances in the space between spaces. If the human assessment is correct, the Devourers could manifest simultaneously across thousands of star systems. Victor seized the moment. This is why the Void Dragon is so crucial. The ship's anti-atom technology is specifically designed to disrupt entities that exist partially outside normal spacetime. But one ship, even with our most powerful weapon, cannot defend the entire galaxy. What are you proposing? Chancellor Mordak asked. Dr. Chen activated new holographic displays showing technical schematics that made several alien scientists gasp in recognition. The Void Dragon contains complete manufacturing protocols for anti-atom weaponry. We are proposing to establish joint production facilities to equip Council fleets with the tools they need to fight the Devourers effectively. The hegemonic overlord's computational matrix sparked with activity. Manufacturing requirements exceed current galactic industrial capacity. Estimated production time, 2 centuries minimum. Under normal circumstances, Victor agreed, but the ship's AI has developed enhancement protocols that can accelerate the process dramatically. With full Council cooperation and resource allocation, we estimate 18 months to equip sufficient forces for galactic defense. 18 months, Chancellor Mordak repeated slowly. The same time frame you estimate for full Devourer activation? Not a coincidence, Chen confirmed. The predecessors built contingencies into their technology. The Void Dragon was designed to activate when the Devourer threat reached critical levels, and its timing suggests they expected their successors to face similar time constraints. Ambassador Thekmol of the Crystalline Hegemony spoke in harmonic frequencies that conveyed deep skepticism. Even accepting your timeline, sharing predecessor technology with humanity grants your species capabilities that could threaten galactic stability after the Devourer crisis is resolved. Ambassador, with respect, galactic stability won't matter if the Devourers succeed in unmaking reality itself. The ship's historical databases show what happened to civilizations that prioritize politics over survival. As if summoned by his words, the chamber's central hologram activated, and the AI consciousness known as Thex materialized before the assembled representatives. Its appearance triggered immediate alarm among the more religious species who considered predecessor constructs to be divine artifacts. Honored representatives, Thex spoke with authority that seemed to resonate in dimensions beyond sound. I have monitored your debate with interest, but time grows short. The entities you call Devourers are already beginning their awakening sequence. Long-range sensors are detecting reality distortions in 3-star systems at the galactic rim. The chamber erupted in panic as representatives demanded confirmation from their respective fleets. Within minutes, reports began flowing in from the rim territories, entire star systems where physics was beginning to behave strangely, where space itself seemed to be unraveling. The Altair system has gone dark, reported Admiral Zekthara, his military bearing unable to hide his concern. Our monitoring stations detected massive gravitational anomalies, and then all contact ceased. Chancellor Mordak called for order as the chamber filled with the sounds of dozens of species expressing fear in their native languages. Thex, what are we facing? The predecessor AI's hologram shifted, showing images from the ancient war that had nearly destroyed the galaxy eons ago. The Devourers are not a species as you understand the concept. They are entropy given consciousness. Entities that feed on the fundamental forces that hold reality together. When they consume a star system, they don't just destroy the matter and energy. They unmake the space-time that allowed it to exist. Dr. Chen had been analyzing the incoming reports with growing horror. If they're awakening simultaneously across the galaxy, we're not just facing an invasion, we're facing the potential collapse of local reality, which is why the anti-atom cannon is so crucial, Victor emphasized. Traditional weapons cannot harm creatures that exist partially outside normal physics, but locked antimatter can disrupt their exotic matter structures, essentially poisoning them with stable reality. The hegemonic overlord's matrix calculated furiously before projecting its conclusion. Probability of successful defense using current galactic military assets, 0.03%. Probability with anti-atom enhancement, 67.4%. Recommendation: immediate cooperation with human proposals. One by one, the Council's major powers began voicing their support for humanity's demands. The ethereal collective's energy beings saw the logic of unity against existential threat. The Voidwalkers recognized that the space between spaces would be the first casualty of Devourer success. Even the proud Zephyrian Union acknowledged that survival trumped political tradition, but it was the Silicon Prophets who provided the crucial endorsement. Their vast computational networks had been analyzing the crisis from every angle, and their conclusion was unambiguous. Human command of predecessor technology represents optimal probability matrix for galactic survival. The Silicon Prophets formally support humanity's Council membership. Chancellor Mordak surveyed the chamber, reading the mood of representatives who had never faced a threat quite like this. The motion before us is unprecedented. We are asked to grant full Council membership to a species that achieved interstellar travel less than a century ago, based entirely on their control of technology they discovered rather than developed. We're asked to survive, Victor corrected. Everything else is politics. The vote, when it came, was closer than humanity's supporters had hoped, but decisive enough to change galactic history. By a margin of 63%, the Galactic Council formally recognized humanity as a full member species. Commander Petrov, Chancellor Mordak announced formally, humanity is hereby granted full membership in the Galactic Council with all rights and responsibilities such status entails. You will take your seat among the galaxy's governing powers, and your species will assume joint command of anti-Devourer defense operations. As Victor and Dr. Chen took their places among representatives who had ruled the galaxy for millennia, new reports flooded in from the rim territories. 7 star systems had now gone dark, and gravitational anomalies were spreading inward at an accelerating pace. The Devourers are fully awakened now, Fex announced grimly. Phase 1 of their assault has begun. They will consume the rim territories to build strength, then advance toward the galactic core. Based on current progression rates, they will reach the first major population centers within 6 months. Victor studied the tactical displays with the eye of a military strategist. How long to manufacture sufficient anti-atom weapons for the first defensive line? With full Council cooperation and the manufacturing protocols I will provide, Tex calculated, 12 weeks for basic armaments, 18 for full fleet enhancement. Then we'd better get started, Victor said grimly. The easy part is over. Now we have to save the galaxy. As the Council session dissolved into frantic planning committees and resource allocation debates, Dr. Chen made one final discovery in the predecessor databases that changed their understanding of the crisis completely. The Devourers weren't the real threat. They were just the first wave. 6 months after humanity joined the Galactic Council, the war for reality itself had transformed the galaxy beyond recognition. Victor Petrov stood on the bridge of the Void Dragon, now flagship of the Combined Defense Fleet, watching as 13 different species worked together to coordinate the largest military operation in galactic history. The ship had grown during the conflict, its predecessor technology adapting and evolving to meet the demands of war. Admiral Petrov, came the voice of Dr. Chen from the tactical station she now commanded. Our scouts are reporting massive reality distortions in the Vega system. The Devourers are beginning their assault on the inner rim. Victor, now holding the rank of Admiral by unanimous Council vote, studied the holographic display showing the galaxy's current state. Red zones marked areas where the Devourers had successfully consumed local spacetime, creating expanding bubbles of unreality that no conventional ship could enter. Yellow zones indicated systems under active assault, where physics itself was breaking down as the entropy entities fed on the fundamental forces holding matter together. Status of the defensive line? Victor asked. Commander Hayes, now coordinating human forces across 17 battle groups, transmitted from the bridge of the newly constructed Earth's Pride. The anti-atom weapons are performing beyond expectations. We've successfully repelled Devourer assaults on 43 star systems, and their advance has slowed significantly. But Victor knew the truth that few others had yet grasped. Dr. Chen's discovery in the predecessor databases had revealed that the Devourers were merely the first phase of a larger threat, a cascade failure that would ultimately attract something far worse if they weren't stopped completely. "Thex, show me the deep space scans," Victor requested. The ship's AI materialized beside him, its holographic form now showing signs of strain from coordinating galaxy-wide defense operations. The gravitational anomalies beyond the galactic rim are intensifying. The Devourer activity is sending ripple effects through higher dimensional space, exactly as the predecessors feared. The display changed to show sensor readings from the dark space between galaxies. What Victor saw there made his blood run cold, massive distortions in the fabric of reality itself, as if something unimaginably vast was stirring in the void between star clusters. "How long?" he asked quietly. "If the Devourers continue consuming local reality at current rates, the dimensional barriers will collapse within 18 months. When that happens, the cosmic Devourers will take notice of this galaxy." Victor had learned enough about predecessor history to understand what that meant. The entities currently ravaging the rim territories were planetary-scale manifestations of entropy. The cosmic Devourers were galaxy-scale, capable of consuming entire stellar clusters and unmaking the space-time that contained them. Admiral Zekdara's voice came from the Zephyrium command ship. "We're receiving emergency transmissions from the Rigel system. The Devourers have adapted to our anti-atom weapons." Victor felt his stomach drop. "Show me." The tactical display revealed a nightmare scenario. The entropy entities had somehow learned to absorb the locked antimatter energy, using it to enhance their own reality disruption capabilities. Ships equipped with the weapons humanity had developed were being consumed along with their targets. "They're using our own weapons against us," Dr. Chen reported with scientific fascination mixed with terror. "The Devourers are incorporating anti-atom technology into their own structure, making them immune to further attacks." Victor made the hardest decision of his career. "All units, cease anti-atom weapons fire immediately. Fall back to conventional weapons and energy shields." The protests came instantly from every species in the fleet. Without anti-atom weapons, they had no effective way to harm the Devourers, which meant the defensive line would collapse within days. Admiral, the hegemonic overlord, transmitted, "Cessation of anti-atom fire will result in immediate tactical defeat. Logic suggests continued engagement." "Logic also suggests we need a new strategy," Victor replied. "Thex, is there any reference in the predecessor databases to Devourer adaptation capabilities?" The AI's response chilled him. "Yes. The predecessors faced this exact scenario in their final battle. The Devourers learned to absorb and redirect anti-atom energy, forcing the predecessors to develop an ultimate weapon, something they called the reality anchor. What does it do? It stabilizes local space-time to such a degree that entropy entities cannot exist within its effect radius. However, deployment requires enormous energy input, and Thex paused in a way that suggested reluctance to continue. "And what?" Victor demanded. "The reality anchor draws its power from the life force of the galaxy's inhabitants. To create a field large enough to encompass all threatened systems would require sacrificing approximately 60% of all sentient life in the galaxy." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. They could save the galaxy by killing most of the people in it, or they could allow the Devourers to unmake reality itself. "There has to be another way," Dr. Chen said desperately. "What if we could reverse engineer the Devourer adaptation process? Use their own ability to absorb anti-atom energy against them?" Victor was about to respond when new alarms sounded throughout the ship. The long-range sensors had detected something that changed everything. Admiral Elena Kozlov reported from the engineering section where she'd been working to enhance the ship's weapon systems. "We're detecting massive energy signatures from the galactic core. Something is activating near the central black hole." The display shifted to show the galaxy's center, where ancient installations that had been dormant for eons were suddenly blazing with power that dwarfed entire star systems. "Predecessor emergency protocols," Thex announced with what sounded like relief. "The galaxy's core installations are activating the Prime Directive." "Which is?" "If the Devourer threat reaches critical levels, all advanced species are to combine their technology and consciousness into a single gestalt entity capable of transcending physical reality. The predecessors left instructions and the necessary technology in the core installations." Victor studied the readings with growing understanding. "You're talking about merging every intelligent species in the galaxy into one consciousness?" "Not merging," Thex corrected, "transcending. The combined consciousness would exist partially outside normal space-time, immune to devourer consumption but capable of manipulating reality on a fundamental level. The communication channels exploded with voices as representatives from every species in the fleet demanded explanations. The concept of transcendence was terrifying to beings who had evolved to value individual existence, but the alternative was complete annihilation. "How much time do we have to decide?" Victor asked. "The core installations will complete their activation sequence in 72 hours, Tex reported. "After that, the transcendence process becomes irreversible for any consciousness within the galactic disk." Victor found himself facing the ultimate command decision. As humanity's representative and the de facto leader of galactic defense, his choice would affect every sentient being in the galaxy. "Admiral," Dr. Chen said quietly, "I've been analyzing the transcendence protocols. There might be a third option." She activated her personal hologram, showing modifications to the predecessor technology that incorporated human ingenuity with alien science. "What if we don't transcend completely? The protocols can be modified to create a hybrid existence, part physical, part transcendent. We could maintain our individual consciousness while gaining the power to resist the devourers. Is that possible?" Victor asked Thex. "Theoretically, yes. But it would require precise coordination between every species in the galaxy, and the energy requirements would still be enormous." Victor looked around the bridge at humans and aliens working together in ways that would have been impossible just months ago. Humanity's stubborn refusal to accept limitations had already revolutionized galactic technology. Perhaps their optimism could find a solution that ancient wisdom had missed. "All fleet commanders, this is Admiral Petrov," he broadcast on all frequencies. "Emergency council session in 1 hour. Ha 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 ha. We're going to discuss the future of galactic civilization." The meeting that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. Representatives from every major species debated not just military strategy, but the fundamental nature of consciousness and existence. The ethereal collective, already partially transcended, argued for full transformation. The Silicon Prophets calculated that hybrid existence offered optimal survival probabilities. The Zephyrians insisted on maintaining biological heritage. It was humanity's proposal that ultimately won support, not through superior argument, but through simple faith in possibility. Dr. Chen's modifications to the Transcendence Protocol would allow each species to choose their level of transformation while contributing to a galaxy-wide consciousness network capable of coordinating defense against threats that existed beyond normal reality. As the 72-hour deadline approached, Victor stood on the Void Dragon's observation deck watching as ships from across the galaxy converged on the core installations. Humans worked alongside beings of pure energy, crystalline intelligences, and artificial minds to prepare for a transformation that would preserve both individuality and unity. "Are you ready for this?" Dr. Chen asked, joining him at the viewing port. Victor thought about his family on Mars Colony, about the mining crew that had accidentally discovered the greatest treasure in galactic history, about the species that had dismissed humanity as primitive and now looked to them for salvation. "I don't think anyone can be ready for becoming something new," he admitted. "But if we don't try, there won't be a galaxy left to save." The transcendence began with a pulse of energy that emanated from the galactic core and swept outward at faster-than-light speeds. When it reached the Void Dragon, Victor felt his consciousness expand beyond the boundaries of his human brain. Suddenly, he could perceive the thoughts and feelings of beings across the galaxy while still maintaining his individual identity. The hybrid network came online with startling efficiency. Millions of minds working in harmony developed new strategies that no single intelligence could have conceived. The Devourers, adapted to fighting individual species with limited perspective, found themselves facing a coordinated defense that anticipated their every move. Within days, the entropy entities were being systematically eliminated by weapons that combined the innovation of dozens of species with the tactical coordination of a galactic hive mind. The reality distortions began healing as stable space-time reasserted itself. But Victor's greatest triumph came when the long-range sensors detected the approach of the cosmic devourers from intergalactic space. The galaxy-scale entities, drawn by the dimensional distortions, found themselves facing not a collection of primitive civilizations, but a unified consciousness that existed partially outside their reach. The ancient threat that had destroyed countless galaxies met its match in a hybrid network that combined transcendent awareness with stubborn biological determination to survive. As the last of the Devourers were eliminated and reality stabilized across the galaxy, Victor realized that humanity had done more than just survive. They had fundamentally changed what it meant to be alive in a universe where consciousness could transcend the boundaries of individual existence. The abandoned dragon had become the cornerstone of a new galactic civilization, one where the supposed weakness of humanity, their refusal to accept limitations, had become the foundation for transcendence itself. In the end, it wasn't advanced technology or ancient wisdom that saved the galaxy. It was the uniquely human belief that there was always another solution, always one more option to try, always a way to break the rules without breaking the things worth preserving. The cosmos would never be quite the same.